With Dunkin' Go-Tos, you can get a great deal on two of your favorites, like 2 egg and cheese wraps for $2, 2 bagels with cream cheese spread for $4, and 2 bacon, egg, and cheese croissants for $5. In my opinion, it's a deal that's pretty tough to beat. That's just if you want my go-to cents. If you don't want my go-to cents, it's go too late. Dunkin' Go-Tos, a great deal for $2, $4, or $5. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply.
A lot of heroes on that day. We often talk about the job that Rudy Giuliani did as mayor that day. But certainly Bernard Kerik, the police commissioner in New York, was also tremendous that day. Tremendous. And he and Rudy did a bunch, not just that day, but so many days and weeks after. And that's why it's so great to have him on the phone right now this morning, commemorating the 18 years since that day. Commissioner Kerik, how are you, pal?
Good morning, guys.
Nice to have you back. Listen, it's something we have to do. It's almost obligatory. I know sometimes it's kind of gory in the details and it gets kind of morbid, but for a person like you especially, who was so involved from the very beginning, tell us how your day started and basically how it ended.
The day started like every other day. I got to the office early. I worked out, went into the bathroom to take a shave, and my chief of staff came in banging on the door to tell me that a plane had just hit Tower 1. And honestly, guys, I thought it was like one of these small Cessna planes or a helicopter or something that flies up and down the Hudson River. And I looked up at the TV in the office that was above a treadmill, and I realized that the damage to the building was far worse than anything I imagined. I spoke to the mayor within a minute or two. I told him I would meet him at 7 World Trade Center, which was the command center across the street from Tower 1. And I got down there probably within 7 or 8 minutes, and they blocked off. They had the Vesey Street blocked off. I couldn't get into Tower 7. And when we asked the cops what they were doing, they said that the cop came up to the car and he says, people are jumping. And I had no idea what he was talking about. I didn't know what he meant. And got out of the car, and I could see this debris coming off the side of Tower 1. And as it got closer to the ground, I realized it wasn't debris. It was bodies. People were jumping. They were coming down at that point, 1, 2, 3 at a time. And they were hitting the ground in Vesey, in the courtyard between 1 and 2. They were hitting the awnings of the building, sounding like these, like enormous explosions. And I guess 2 or 3 minutes before Rudy got there was this enormous explosion above us. And when I looked up, that's when Tower 2, the second plane, was slamming through the north side of the tower.
Wow. And Commissioner Kerik, you and the mayor, of course, you stayed there and you went into a building and you were actually trapped there for a while. Tell us about that.
The mayor got there about 4 minutes after Tower 2 was hit, and we actually walked down to 75. We walked down to West Street to meet with the fire commanders, the first deputy commissioner, the chief of department, the chief of operations for the fire department. They had a temporary command set up on West Street. We spoke to them for about 15 minutes. Father Judge, the chaplain for the fire department, was there. He blessed us as we walked away. And we went back to 75 Barclay Street, where I first arrived, and went into an office there so the mayor could call the White House. And as we were standing, I was standing there, the mayor was sitting on the phone with the White House, and he hung up the phone, looked at me with this pale look on his face, and he said, "This isn't good." He said, "They just hung up on me. They said that they're evacuating the White House and they think the Pentagon just got hit." And as he said it, the building we were in started to shake like a freight train was coming through it. And the door slammed open. Chief Esposito, my chief of department, blew into the room we were in and basically said that the building's coming down. and Tower 2 at that point was imploding, nearly on top of us. And that's the building we were trapped in. That's the office we were trapped in for about 20 to 25 minutes. We couldn't get out. We couldn't go back out the way we came in. The street was blocked with debris and rubble. And there was no other way out. And finally these two maintenance guys showed up from within the building with a bunch of keys, and they were able to get us out of the building on Church Street. But we were trapped inside there for about 25 minutes, I guess.
Former New York Police Commissioner Bernie Kerik, of course, was the commissioner on that fateful day 18 years ago today. You started the conversation, Bernie, by talking about the jumpers, which was the cover of the New York Post on 9/12, I remind people. And you did mention Michael Judge, God rest his soul, what a special man he was. And if I remember correctly, you've told us this before, I think you were also sitting right there with him and Rudy when one of these jumpers actually landed on Father Judge and killed him.
Yeah, that's actually how he died. Rudy and I weren't there. We were up at 75 Barclay at that point.
Okay.
But that's actually how Father Judge died. And what was painful for us, every single one of those guys that we were with, everyone that we were with in that temporary command center, just 15 minutes earlier, every single one of them died on that day.
Wow.
So that was the last time we actually got to see them.
Unbelievable. And, of course, the sense of calm and confidence that Mayor Giuliani and yourself projected really did help the psyche of the people watching on TV with the press conferences that you held. I mean, you guys did an amazing job, and we thank you for that. But what were you feeling inside? I mean, did you think, I guess as the day went on, perhaps you realized there were no more attacks, or maybe you didn't. Tell us about it.
You know what, guys? Well, we didn't know, especially early on. I called for the airspace to be closed down and air support, which was kind of ironic. I remember my guys looking at me later saying, when you first yelled out, "Give me air support," and close down the airspace, they were looking at me like, well, what do we have, an 800 number for an F-16? Who do we call for this? There were a lot of things running through my mind. First of all, what other buildings have to be evacuated if these were the first two targets and there's more planes coming? We didn't know if there were or not. I called for the evacuation of the Empire State Building, the UN, police headquarters, and other buildings. And then I was worried about ground attacks. Did they plan something in the mass transit system? Is there something else going to happen beyond what we already knew? So these were the things that we had to deal with at the time. But guys, I want to stress to you listeners one thing that I think gets overlooked at times. And people, you talk about my leadership or the mayor's leadership. We did what we had to do under the circumstances, but we had an enormous army of men and women and first responders on that day that did a job that's never been done before, and I want to stress this. The men and women, the first responders, whether it was the fire department or the NYPD or Port Authority, they effected the greatest rescue mission in the history of our country. They took 20 to 25, 30,000 people out of those buildings and the surrounding areas, and then they evacuated more than 1 million people out of southern Manhattan into the four boroughs, into New Jersey, almost effortlessly, because they had practiced and prepared for crisis for 4 years under Rudy Giuliani's tenure. They are the real heroes. They're the ones that came to the aid of people they didn't know, regardless of what color their skin was. It didn't make any difference. They went out and did a job that most people wouldn't have the courage to do. And that stuff can't never, ever
well
be
said.
No, absolutely.
Well said.
It was so
Bernie
nice
Kerik.
to see President Trump last week talking about first responders, honor those folks from Dayton who certainly not nearly the magnitude of what you guys went through that day, but ran in when the bullets were flying, much like our men and women ran in as the buildings were coming down. You're very humble in your appreciation, Bernie, but you really did do an amazing job that day. We will forever be grateful, Bernie and I and everybody here in New York, and you'll always be a very, very good friend of ours. So thank you so much on this solemn day.
Thank you, guys.